The Crucible is about a community that cannot get along.
It takes place in 1692 in the town of Salem. It's about the Salem witch trials.
Arthur Miller wrote it during the HUAC trials in the 50s.
Where friends and artists were being blacklisted, and the only way to save yourself was to list names of your friends and other fellow artists.
It's really looking at how the Salem witch trials are repeating themselves again in modern history.
It's got the power to kind of bridge the divide between 1690s, the McCarthy era, and into modern day.
Very immersive experience. It's definitely not anything that I've worked on before.
So the audience sits amidst the action, and so there's action happening on stage and around them, surrounded by a 360 mediated environment.
As our director, Rachel Bowditch, likes to say, this is not your mother's crucible. So we've really taken a lot of creativity to this piece by changing the staging. The audience will be in the round. We've got all sorts of surprises in store for our audience.
We have an amazing cast. They're so willing to just jump in and do anything we ask. You know, we've added in these beautiful transitions and all this interesting storytelling, and they're just 100% on board, and that's exciting.
It's complex, it's chaotic, it's something new. It'll give you a whole different vibe of the environment as well as characters. It gives you different views on characters, and it's beautiful.
I have a distinct memory of being in rehearsal for Indian School, the show that went up in February, when it was announced that a case of coronavirus had been found in Arizona, in Tempe.
And I told the actors, it's spring break, have a wonderful, restful break. When we get back on Monday, we are going to set the show on the stage. We have 3 days to do the blocking, and then we're in tech. Dress rehearsals, and we have an audience, and our opening night was sold out. And then the world ended.
So I was in the process of staging some final combat scenes, making notes on all the choreography that was being run.
When it came down to those last few days before we finally realized we couldn't come back to ASU, tech was still pushing. We had Phoebe still applying paint. I was still hanging things in the air. Cassidy was crushing it.
I had a relatively good sense, I think, by the second day of emails that, this was at the very least going to be postponed, if not canceled. So I was thinking, okay, well, what we'll do is we'll start with a pushback for 2 weeks, so that gives me time to find where I can get some hand sanitizer, some Clorox wipes, some face masks. This gives me time to get all those things together.
Well, we were ready. We were in tip-top shape for the show, to be honest. Everything was tightening up and falling in place, and we were ready. And I think we were just, this was just a surprise.
I mean, this is unprecedented. Never before such a thing has happened, that my mind could not fathom it or predict it.
As each day sort of ratcheted up and we started to understand what this was going to be, I knew it was the right choice to first postpone and then cancel the production, because it's we would be sitting there in stasis waiting for something. And I think what we have to do in this moment is actually deal with the now.
It is disappointing that we don't get to perform it, but I'd like to think that all of us will put all that hard work into everything that we do, no matter what the outcome is. And I'm sure all these amazing, talented actors will do so as well. And I feel very lucky to have been in the rehearsal room.
The first part was coming to acceptance, and then just letting go and treasuring what we gained from it. If it's the lessons we've learned, the depth we found, or just the toolkit we've built up from the experience.
So what I learned a lot about is trusting my team and communicating and touching base clearly, making sure we're all on the same page. And if mistakes happen, which mistakes are bound to happen, address them. Don't shy away from them. Own up and move forward and find a solution that works for everyone.
I know that personally one thing that I'm going to take away from this is to cherish whenever I can get on stage. I was definitely grateful to be a part of the Crucible, but I feel like sometimes I guess I just took it for granted that we were just on stage and we were all together. But especially now that we can't be, it's definitely been something that I've thought about a lot and I've missed. And next time I do get a chance to perform with other artists, I know that I'm going to cherish it a lot more.
Sometimes I get caught up in the stress and the late nights and the just stressing over every little detail, and I don't take enough time to really appreciate like what I'm doing and what we're creating as a group, and in different ways. We all have some kind of stake in it, and we can all respect that, even if it doesn't turn out the way we think it will.
What I've learned is that at least I take things very seriously in theater. So everything is like life and death for me. And after this ended, I realized that the show even didn't happen, and I was like going so crazy after it. I was taking everything so seriously. I was extrapolating everything in my head, and I don't need to do that anymore.
It is what it is. I mean, everything has been canceled. I just saw Yale canceled their 2021 season. As upsetting as it is, I've been in the business long enough to know that there are always other projects and there are always other things you can do.
You know, the beautiful thing about theater and performance that I have always loved is that it has a conception, a birth, a life, and a death. So we go through an entire life cycle every 3 to 7 weeks. And this is another one. And its life cycle was cut short, unfortunately. And that's another show, I'm afraid, that we didn't fully see, but we still did a lot of work to put it forward. And I hope that we all hold dear the lessons that we learned in this process and get to apply it again in the next show, because there's always, thankfully, another show in another way, in another place, in another time.